Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Friday, October 4. Thanks for joining us. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. Police have identified the body recovered from the Careenage this morning. The body is that of 79-year-old Dudley Winfield Bryan. His address is unknown. Police and personnel from the Barbados Coast Guard recovered the body in the area of the screw dock at Cavens Lane, St. Michael. Investigations are continuing, and police have asked anyone with information that can assist to contact Police Emergency at 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, or any police station. On the final day of the inaugural Smart Barbados Conference at the Lloyders in Sandiford Centre, Labour and education officials concede that Barbados is lagging when it comes to digital transformation. General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Senator Tony Moore, said while some union members were receptive to the rapid changes, there are others who see it as a challenge and are fearful. She said while some workers are likely to be displaced as a result of digital transformation, the labour movement is focused on helping members to transition and minimize the impact.
The age of artificial intelligence and digitization and so on has started at least 4 years or so ago, but here we are in Barbados discussing it as something to come, although it is here. So it is changing the world of work and the opportunities that exist. While we have jobs that will fall, there is tremendous potential for new jobs to be created, and I think the challenge that we have and that we will get into more fully will be to ensure that we prepare our educational system, prepare our people that they can take advantage of the jobs and the opportunities that exist rather than becoming preoccupied with what does not exist anymore.
Meanwhile, it was a day of grand celebrations for the Barbados Workers Union. The union observed its 78th birthday today, and one of its administrators says the trade union movement, established so many decades ago, is just as relevant today as it was in 1941. This morning, Executive Assistant to the General Secretary of the BWU, Cindy Green, told Barbados Today that while the threats to the labour force are not the same today as they were 7 decades ago, the challenges of the day require the same show of strength, which could only be found in worker solidarity. She was speaking as the union held an appreciation day at its Solidarity House headquarters.
I believe, and we all believe, that the union is still relevant because 78 years later, the world has changed. We're now living in globalization. So we're now having different practices coming in from all over the world. So Barbadians are now being faced with things that they are not accustomed to. So they will need their union to be responsive in those times. We have various practices coming into place which are not necessarily good practices, and that is what the Barbados Workers Union is here for.
Plans are afoot to transform the Grantley Adams Memorial Secondary School. Word of this from the chairman of the Board of Management, George Griffith, who says the school has big potential and his team will spare nothing to ensure that it excels. He was speaking at the unveiling of the first set of murals to be unveiled at a number of schools during Education Month.
Like the phoenix of classical mythology, this Grantley Adams Memorial Secondary School, I predict, will rise from the ashes with renewed vigor and vitality to better serve the children of our beloved country by exposing them to the most appropriate and comprehensive level of education possible. Madam Minister, you and your ministry officials can be assured that our GAMS team will leave no stone unturned in our effort to play our part in the transformation of this school. Our principal and teaching staff are eminently qualified, passionately committed, and possess that dogged determination so necessary for the success of the mission ahead. As the saying goes, give us the tools and we will accomplish the task.
Education Minister Santia Bradshaw said her ministry intends to promote art in schools as a viable vehicle for social and economic development.
Our government, through the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, remains committed to providing the opportunities and the infrastructure for the arts to be developed in our schools and among our youth, so that they may be seen as viable vehicles for social and economic development. We remain committed to leveraging the arts in our schools so that our students, parents, and all stakeholders can grow to appreciate their value and relevance, not only as tools for beautification and enhancement and entertainment, but as methods to promote discipline and also to provide motivation.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Root Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To regional news now, in Trinidad and Tobago, senior police officers must have top-notch qualifications, a master's degree and up. It's the new minimum education requirement for commissioners and deputy commissioners of police. The announcement was made at a post-cabinet news conference on Thursday.
The TTPS obviously wants their best to run the service. Now they want the brightest too.
The upgrade of the job specifications for the position of Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police, in particular to that requirement of a master's degree.
Former Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams has a master's in Applied Criminology and Police Management from Cambridge University. But Acting National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines says there's no specification as to what field their masters must be in.
So I'll confine myself to saying to you a master's degree.
Of course, if someone has a degree a master's degree related to law enforcement, then of course, they will have an edge.
But Education Minister Anthony Garcia is stressing anyone with a master's degree must have one from an accredited university.
There seems to be a plethora of degrees being conferred on persons, and therefore it is important for us to ensure that the degrees or the level of qualification that is required for that position is properly accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister Hines says there's no word yet whether salaries will be increased commensurate with the new guidelines. And if you're wondering about Commissioner Griffith,
I have just had confirmation that the current Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, hard-working and focused as he is the holder of a master's degree in security management, and that resolves your question.
On the international front, thousands of protesters have flooded Hong Kong's city center and several neighborhoods to express their opposition to a new ban on wearing masks during demonstrations. By invoked in the colonial-era emergency regulations ordinance, embattled Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam bypassed the territory's independent legislature to put the ban into effect on Friday after midnight. This was Lam's latest move in a desperate bid to deter violent clashes between police and demonstrators who are often masked.
This morning, I called a special meeting of the Executive Council. The Chief Executive and Council decided to invoke the Emergency Regulations Ordinance to enact a prohibition on face covering regulation. Now, this has been discussed for a long time in the committee as the anti-mask legislation. This regulation will come into effect tomorrow, the 5th of October. Why do we need to have this piece of regulation? It's because because in the past 4 months we've seen that almost all protesters who carried out vandalism and violence covered their face. The purpose was to hide their identity and evade the law, and they have become more and more daring. So we believe the prohibition on face covering regulation will be an effective deterrent to radical behavior, and it will also help the police in enforcing the law.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, so like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Isumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screen play at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.